What's going on?
Alright, well, this is the last time we filmed. Did some cleaning, got the battery out. I had to take this crossbar out, get the battery out. It's a 14 millimeter and a 15 millimeter, or 13 millimeter and 15 millimeter. And a bunch of plastic paneling out of the wheel well, so we can get stuff easier. Those were 7 millimeter bolts, held over 7 millimeter self-tappers mostly. And the wire is mostly degreased. And started working on tracking this stuff back, pull some stuff apart. I'm gonna clean these connectors up. This is for the power feed. There's another power feed. I don't know if I think I can get that cleaned up without taking this out. And we're gonna order a new one of the ignition control because
I have ordered a new one of those.
yeah, this is probably the original, and a lot of the problems that it's having with random misfires and even some of the stuff that's having with the power feed problems can be linked to this. So we're going to go ahead and try to replace this.
All right.
And I got to take it off anyways to get to the negative where it grounds under here at the engine block. I've got to take this off to get to that to clean it properly. So.
All right. So here's what we did learn. All right. The cameraman, being the complete genius, learned this all on his own without having anybody ever tell him anything. Nobody helped him at all with this whatsoever, regardless of what they say. Okay, he's not taking the bait. All right, so this and this part have to be replaced together. When this goes, just go ahead and order them both. Or if this goes, go ahead and order them both. Don't try to
on these older ones.
Yeah, on these older ones, on these 89s, 88s, and 90s, just go ahead and replace them both at the same time.
Which we're not gonna. This coil doesn't have 1,000 miles on it, so
that coil doesn't have 100 miles on
I know it. So today I am going to go ahead and pull this off and take this apart so I can get to these plugs. I will also finish doing the wires. I got them cleaned up, and I'll show later. And they're not badly broken. There's just a few strands here and there that are cut. I'm going to weave in.
Pardon me. Let me turn off. I just realized I've been blinding him this whole time.
I'm going to weave in some new strands. I'm not going to use these because these were used for another one, but I'll take a piece of strand wire, cut it, and weave in new strands to replace the severed strands. Try to connect it to the severed strands if I can. That'll work when there's just a few strands broken, just to make sure that it's getting enough connectivity.
Yep.
First things first, going to be getting a torque head for that. And I was trying to remember what it was torque head.
So we're defuncifying wires today.
So,
Our wires have been mostly defunkified. We're removing the ignition control module and the coil pack, and
I think I guessed right the first time, 25T.
there we are. So we do want light this time.
Because I want to see where these wires are, and also telltale on this going bad. You can see where it's melting. It's pulled back and it's melted, and that's normally a sign for any of these type of control modules that have the resin in it. When the resin starts to shrink and melt and bubble, they're normally done.
So what you're saying is that is not supposed to look like that.
No, it shouldn't be pulled back like this. It shouldn't have all the crystals on it, and it shouldn't have wires melted into it.
So what you're saying is this is not supposed to be that way.
No. Good sign that it's done. Probably at the end of its life. And now, the big thing is going to be remembering where these wires are. On the bottom.
A quick bald spot check. So the big thing is this is not supposed to be that. I'm kidding. All right.
Now I got to figure out how this comes off.
The big thing is figuring out how this comes off. But yeah, we'll be quadruple checking. If memory serves me right, they were like somewhat labeled or something when I pulled it off originally to replace the coil pack earlier. But I will also photograph this. But in case you need it for yourselves out there, which you can also reference the other Reatta video where we replaced this coil pack
I need to watch that. I wasn't part of that.
No, you weren't. There you go. If you were part of that, maybe you would have told me to replace this ignition control module. So maybe that's your fault. That's your fault. Maybe that's your fault.
Gone, wasn't I?
It's still your fault.
I think I wasn't even in state when you did it.
It's still your fault.
But no, I probably would have told you that needed replaced if I saw it like that.
Exactly. So it's your fault. Everything found from now on is now your fault.
Okay, these are two 11mm bolts that are part of what holds this control module on, and you can see how badly corroded they are. So that's probably part of the negative connection thing, because this is where the negative goes to, it's right under here. So yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to find lots of corrosion under there.
I'm showing y'all now, and sorry if you hear a thump from me hitting the microphone on things. I'm trying not to do that.
I'm trying to figure out everything I've got to remove. I found those two, and this thing still doesn't. Oh, maybe it's budging a little bit. It feels like it's still connected somewhere. I got to find where else it's connected.
Yep.
Those two are off, but
that negative cable is also looking fugly under there.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's why I'm going to pull this anyways. That one's coming off up here. That's loose. This side, I don't know if it's...
I thought there was three. In all the photos, there's three.
There's three, and I just got to find where the third one is.
Yep.
There's also... I wonder if that's going to be 7mm again, because I've been running into a lot. 13mm or 7mm, because GM.
Mm-hmm. What is the weirdest size?
Yep, that's another 7. And there's a nut that holds the plug in, and it's another 7mm.
Okay, so where that... Oh, for the cable.
Mm-hmm.
The ICM cable, or whatever they call it. That thing.
Let me go on and make sure. They may have it. It may lock it in on its own. So I'm going to pull this out, and it may not be able to undo that until then. Something you don't see hardly ever, at least not in modern cars, is where a computer connection is bolted in.
Yeah. Well,
You don't see that on modern computers either.
I was going to say, this car is about 25, 30 years away from being modern.
Well, it is technically modern.
It's made in 89.
Yeah, but it's still modern era. It's not carbureted, and it has a computer, so it's a modern car.
If you were born in 89, you're considered old now. And this car is considered modern.
Ooh, that's kind of crusty too. Not horrible. That'll clean up, not problem. Just mainly that's crusty, and that's probably a ground too. So
We got cleaner for that.
there is a third bolt between the negative battery and the whatever this hard line is coming off. Thinks power steering. So of course it's going to be an inconvenient spot.
See.
Thanks, GM.
Yep. And see if y'all can see that down there. I think y'all can see that sticking up down there. So, yep. We're trying to figure that out.
Trying to get something in there to that bolt. That's the hard part.
Remember, they're not difficult and annoying, they're fun.
Thanks, GM. We're working on removing this negative cable so I can get to that bolt a little easier. And you can see how corroded that is. I'll clean all this up. And I think the cable's good. I just got to clean all the corrosion off of it. And then I think that'll work fine again. But
Oh, you see the dust falling off of that.
see how corroded that is.
Gee, I wonder why, the reason why my car is having so many problems with the negative cable.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why this has started to try to melt.
I'm going to clean it up, and then I'll check conductivity and make sure it does have good conductivity. Because we cannot buy... This is a weird 3-cable... I really don't have to build this cable. I really don't. So I'm hoping I can fix it. Because I don't have to build that cable new. Because you can't get that cable anymore. Now let's see if I can get to that. Because I'm already at swivel head extension. I need a shorter extension. And it still has to be swivel.
Is it busted knuckle time? That's an IPA, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
No.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's beer of some kind. It's all beer.
And
Yep,
that'll work.
Like 30% of the. Yeah.
I don't know. This is an Indiana brand, so.
True. It's all beer.
Local beer company, not a sponsor.
No, not a sponsor.
They have some good beers, but I don't care for IPAs.
Yep. I actually don't mind the Busted Knuckle. It's all right.
Busted Knuckle doesn't think it's IPA. I think it's actually one of their lagers.
I don't remember.
It's been a while. The fun part is I can get it in there, then I can't. Okay, this is going to be fun. Now I got to put an extension on this so I can get a socket on it after it's on there. So this is one of those bolts. Thank you, GM.
Thank you, GM. This is the definition of we're going to annoy you into the point of just taking it to the dealer.
All the corrosion, land of corrosion. That'll cause a lot of problems too. That's probably what caused it to start failing, because it was getting inconsistent ground.
So what you're saying is this is the world we live in?
Yep.
And these are the tools we're given?
Just don't get us copyrighted. Although I like that song. I really like that song.
That's a good song.
So.
Yeah, Lord, that is...
And then you have all the wiring. Interesting, that side all goes together.
Go.
Oh.
Turn this around here.
Then it'll be upside down.
The other way was upside down.
No, it's the right way. I'm looking at it the right direction.
Oh. My bad.
I wish they had... I don't know why they use these little stub things, so I keep getting the ends disconnected. There we go. But I'm guessing that's good.
We got some conductivity there
So
in horseshoe mode.
yeah, I've got... it's got connection. I'll have to check it after batteries to it, so I can see what's coming off of it. But it's doing something, so that's something.
Yep. So either it's going to be fixed or it's going to burn the whole rig down. One or the other.
I think it's going to work.
Yep.
So that's something.
Fingers crossed, eyes crossed.
Now I'm cleaning the main body ground here. Just pulling, there's a bunch of grounds here, a bunch of grounds here. I'm just taking them off and taking a brush and cleaning the wire and the bolts and the interface and using electrical clean again and just cleaning them all up.
Ground there, and I knocked his light down. And of course there's the one that's underneath this red panel here.
Yeah, that's actually, is that the ground or hot? I think that's actually a hot wire. This is a ground, but this is a floating ground. And those are the ones I've got pulled apart and I'm cleaning them too. There's a ground block that doesn't actually ground to the car, that just connects the ground to other grounds.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm removing this cross reinforcement member, and something I may do just in case the power pin here, which you can't really see because of this angle, the negative goes here, just in case that's not grounding good to the engine, I may run a second negative cable down, around, and back down to this bracket, clean off a spot, and that way it's under that bracket. That way it gets an extra ground just in case it's actually the ground bolt that's not working well. Because everything else needs to be clear. Wires are all showing connectivity, so I think the wires are okay. They feel solid. The corrosion's not that bad. That bolt was badly corroded. I've cleaned it up, but just in case that's not going to be sufficient, I'm going to go ahead and remove this anyways to the belt, and I will probably hook a new ground to there and run it back up. That way it has an extra ground. Oh, and these bolts are 15 millimeter on this crossbar. Okay, I'm currently degreasing this. This was that cross member bar. This is a Gojo towel. I love these. Little tub down there, not a sponsor, but I found that these are great. They've got a scrubbing side, so you can use them to clean parts as well as your hands. And the fact that there's corrosion where this bar was meeting the engine block, and that means that whole thing kind of reinforces that it may not be grounding perfectly, even though this is supposed to be a ground point. So I'm going to clean all this up, and I am going to run another cable probably down there. I am currently repairing the wires. I've cut the insulation off, and I've got wire braids. Unfortunately, these are a little thinner than the old ones, so I'm doubling them up if I can grab them. retying the broken strands, and then I'm going to wrap it all and paint it up with some marine grade tape. This is just kind of a slow, tedious process to mend broken cords. And if it was all broken, you'd actually just cut the section of wire out and yada yada yada, but since it's just a few broken ones, I'm just doing a patch, and I'll do a wrap, and then I'll paint it with marine grade liquid electric tape. And of course the light dies. And now we got light again. Now I gotta see if we get that lined up again. There we go.
2 hours 30 minutes completed. 1,150 calories. Heart rate 98 beats per minute.
Concentrating. Forgot that was running. It wasn't counting me moving around all in the garage. That's normal. By wrapping this strand around it, I'm reinforcing the wire, so it should be a little protected from taking more damage. That wire is repaired. And then I'm going to use some electric cleaner to get my oils from my fingers off of it. And then use the electrical tape, but I got to fix this one too. So that's going to be the next one. Cutting that insulation off and doing that one. So, more of this. So I had a little bit more distance for me to these. But now I'm going to paint these with marine grade liquid electrical tape to seal them. After I cleaned them again with that, use the tube to separate them. Let's see if I can get a little more light on this. There we go. And now we'll be doing a couple of coats on it. I definitely want these to seal good so we quit having the shorts.
3 hours completed. 1,300.
I still haven't managed to remember to stop my watch when I was upright. Okay, first coat of those done. Now I'll let it set up for a little bit and then I'll put another coat. I'll probably end up putting 4 coats total to give a good thick layer. As you can see, it is much better, and that will fix those, and that should solve the problem with those two potentially shorting out on each other. Yes, I can still see there's wire there. That'll be covered. I gotta do extra coats, but it will get there. So for long, I'll have all this fixed and I'll be done down here. Well, at least this part down here. It's recording. See if I can see what I'm doing. But as you can see, I've repaired and coated those wires. I'm going to put another layer on anyways, because now it's been 24 hours, so it's really set up. So I'll do a proper another coat on that, and that way those wires are all good and clean. Then I'm going to wrap this, get what shielding I can back on it. Actually, I'll probably see if I don't have any of this shielding. If I don't, I'll either wrap it with tape, or I may cut a piece of old radiator hose or something just to cover them so they're protected, so they don't get chewed up again. Bit more electrical tape. You get this stuff, not necessarily this brand, it's just the brand I got. You want to make sure you get stuff that is rated. The marine grade's a good indicator. Something that's rated for outdoor use that's also abrasive resistant. So, and just paint it on after it's clean. Get it good and degreased, and then paint it on. A little bit of sandpaper and get brand new surfaces. So just getting the positive done. So just finish everything up. Use some electrical tape up here where there's a few spots where wires have been chewed on even. So we're finishing up on the last of the electrics. Going to put this back together. Finish putting this back together. And then clean it once again. I'll spray everything down with that again. Then I've got battery terminal protectant sealer. And I'm going to coat all these. Yeah, not a sponsor. That's third brand. That's something like that? Third brand. But I'm going to use some of it to seal these in once I have everything tightened down and cleaned up. That way it will have a protectant coat to prevent another corrosion from forming. It'll also, well, if I can get this, there we go. Didn't want to feed. But, and also, I got cables to run a new cable after I change this belt. I've sanded the paint off of this bracket here so I can put a new negative cable. Run it here. I'll run it out and around and back and add it to the outside of this one on the point down here where it goes. That way, if it's not grounding good to the block at this bolt, it'll have a second point to ground to the engine block. So should solve the problem. Since the wire is showing good, I have a feeling it may be this connecting point's corroded out, and there's not a good way to fix that without taking the engine apart.
Yeah.
So I've cleaned it up best I can. That's just as a fail-safe, guarantee insurance.
And it also might have something to do with the fact that the circuit board is melting.
Mm-hmm.
It's melting.
Yeah. That's for the ignition stuff. For the fact that we were having trouble getting beepty boopity boopities in there and the scrolling, fixing the 3 shorted wires and adding another ground and cleaning all the corrosion off of these points should help with that, if all goes well. Also, these two were kind of weird. The smaller one was 13 millimeter, the bigger one was a 15 millimeter. And I had to use this to get in there so it was open and low clearance. So, a little aggravating. This one's purple and nastier than the other stuff, but it should work.
There we are.
I just hope it sets up.
It's purple.
Yeah.
It's nasty. Yeah. It should sit up.
I hope it sets up to a solid and isn't just a goo all the time. But, yeah, it'll... I like the color.
Yeah.
But that takes care of that. Should keep it from corroding out again. Give some extra protection on that. And I'll do the stuff on the battery as well.
Mm-hmm. When we put the battery back in. Waiting on that part, should get here tomorrow, and then we can get that installed. And
yeah, that's the last. Get that on, then I can get this hooked up again and run the ground.
Get the belt replaced.
Belt's going to be next thing. I think I'm going to wait and do the belt. Oh, I may do the belt yet today, but it's not going to take much.
No, I'm saying sometime before reassembly.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have to be today. She's swimming along.
Mm-hmm. Coming right along. Well, I've got it all back together, sealed. I used some electrical tape. I used white so I know it's a repair I did or someone else did. Just to help shield this wire where the shielding had been cut away. So the part that would have been here was gone. And this is where the wires broke. Well, this was all pulled out too. You can see where that was out and sticking up here. I'm also going to, this bracket's up here, bolts right there, and the shielding, you see where the shielding's loose? Bolt hole is right there. I'm going to try to track down a bolt and put this back up so that wiring's up and out of the way so it's not rubbing. And I've also got to find some oil pan bolts. So I'm going to pull those and go in and see if I can't find one, see if I have any of my stuff. I'm going to pull this bolt for this because I'm hoping it's the same, considering it's the same. Oh, you can't see it. This bolt here It's the same piece of plastic shielding, so I'm hoping it's the same bolt size as what that was. So I can get that up out of the way. Wire repair is done, and then after we have all this done, eventually we may come back. I don't know if I showed this before, but you can see right in there, this right here is the crankshaft position sensor. I've cleaned it up, and the fact that I think it looks like the wire going to it with one of the wires that was cut, we're going to see how it does. Just having the oil cleaned off of it and the wiring fixed before I go through replacing it, because if the original works, it's probably a better quality than the replacement. So, which is the name of the game anymore with car parts generally. The new stuff you get's nowhere near good as the original. But that's it for the wiring down here. So, like, share, subscribe, and see you next time.